For today's show, I saw one for next week.
Yeah, I got last week. And then I sent out earlier an email. For those of you joining us, welcome. We're in our pre-show, standing by, getting ready to roll our Zoom for TV. And let's just see. Yeah, Zoom changed to only let people in after you let them physically in.
I gotcha.
And that's
my camera freezing up.
It may be.
Do you see that? Is it jumping?
You're jumping.
You're teleporting.
Oh, here it
Macarena?
Is. Closing on a house checklist. Where did that go?
Closing on a house checklist.
Did you guys see that? I knew there was something I didn't see.
Yeah, that was for. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got that just a little bit ago.
I'm gonna jump out and jump. Well, hold on. Actually, if I do this, I did this last time. Okay, now we're good.
No. Oh, now you're back.
Yeah, it took a minute. Now we're good. We should go.
Okay, let me just print this.
Now, Greg, you didn't take that big black marker of yours and just that's how you filled out your ballot?
Oh no. It's honestly, so I felt like the only person I openly cared to vote for this year was John Yarmouth. Everybody else, you just draw a line through everybody. But no, I did my
you bubbled in very carefully. Okay.
I did my due diligence to get this guy. Well,
there you go.
We're getting ready to go on 840. We're not live on 840 WHAS. I got to be careful.
That's okay. It's being recorded anyway. So
That's right. It's going to get out there one way or another.
Listen, I like to keep it close to the vest, except for people that we are friends with. I mean, John Yarmouth is a family. We are very close to. We know many people in his family, so we like him, and he's a great guy.
Is he even running?
I didn't bubbles incorrectly.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything.
He's still running. He's on the ballot. I went, and by the way, early voting started yesterday for anybody who's watching this, or this is now from Tuesday. Right. Lines are nothing. I was in and out 10 minutes. They had it. So, I mean, there was plenty of people telling you where to go, getting you in line. They have, they've got all they do is they scan your ID. It's no longer like you have to go figure out precinct. There's one location. You go up, there's tons of tables. You walk up, scan your ID. They say, okay, go in here, go to booth S. And it really, you can they just tell you, they're like, hey, if there's somebody open, just go to them. And then there's tons of workers. They grab your ballot, you go, fill it out, put it in the machine. It was in and out, literally 10. It's probably one of the fastest experiences I've had ever.
Were you at the Marriott East?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, folks. Okay, go ahead, Chuck. Oh, point it down a little bit at you because we got
there we go. I'll just sit up. There we go.
You were going to say something about the Marriott East?
Yeah, I was in and out in about 10 minutes as well.
Oh, wow.
You could walk over there from where you are.
Yeah, but I
even want.
I'm lazy.
Well, it's very industrious back there. You got a bunch of car shops and hotels and
all right,
lawyers' offices.
We are ready. If you're ready, I'm ready. You ready, guys?
Ready.
Yep.
All right, stand by. Of course, it'd be nice if this would work. Done. Okay, here we go. Coming to you. News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, with you for the next 30 minutes or so. And here with us, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Holy smokes, we've got a lot. So let's get right to it. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They hire vets. They're the #1 home team inspection service in the country. And we love them for that. You can reach them at their new number. Please make note. It's 844-411-TEAM.
There you go. Love it.
844-411-TEAM. Good morning. Also here, Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices. Chuck does a lot. Not only does he do closings, he does wills, and he just did one for me.
Mine.
And Greg's. And Brad, maybe you need to talk to Chuck about a will, possibly.
I need an update.
We need an update.
Hey, there you go.
Chuck's the guy. I mean, he really does a lot, and if he says on a regular basis, if he doesn't do it, he knows somebody who does do it. That's Chuck Crosby at 499-6360. Also, my son Greg is here, and he does our marketing and photography and so much more. And, of course, you can reach me anytime on my cell phone at 5483. All right, let's get to it. A couple of notes. We were so busy last week, we promoted a couple of things that we never got to. So we're going to get to them today on this show. We got a lot going on, including is it time to move into a single-story home even during COVID? Also, 10 remodeling mistakes that will reduce your home's resale value. But up first, we're so swamped, I thought it would be important if we go through a fairly quick checklist, a list of what home buyers need to be ready to do prior to closing, just in the whole scheme of selling your home, buying a home, and what you need to do. This is the buyer's side. So let's start with removing contingencies. So Chuck, as the attorney of the group, removing contingencies that include an inspection, an appraisal, and financing. How would you sum those up?
Anything else?
Yep.
Things that you made the contract contingent upon, or the contract didn't need to be fulfilled if those contingencies did not occur. So you have to make sure that they've all occurred. Otherwise, you walk from the contract.
Or that you remove them if they haven't occurred.
Right. Yeah.
Next is clearing a title. So when you buy a home, you take title to the property. So Chuck, that's part of your responsibility of what you and your fund folks do over there.
Right. You guys, you're the one that keeps an eye on those contingencies. But when it gets to me, we've run the title. That is to say, we've gone back and done a record search on the property all the way back, all the way forward to make sure that people that are selling it have the right to sell and that there aren't going to be any liens or encumbrances on it.
Then we move on to getting final mortgage approval, which can be difficult because in these COVID times, it's very possible that the lender that you work with, no matter who it is, may have a policy that they call your employment the day of closing, like even a minute before they close, and say, "Are you still employed?"
When you did your refi, I know they did this to me. They made me write, because I'm self-employed. They made me write a letter talking about my business insolvency through COVID and how we think we're going to be able to weather the storm. So, that was at the nth hour. They're like, "Oh, by the way, we want you to do this. You know, you're supposed to close tomorrow, but we need a letter."
They do that. You actually did sign something, Bob, that said that you didn't feel that COVID was going to affect your income.
Okay.
It's in every package.
I'm pretty sure I walked you through that when I was helping you out when doing the some of the other stuff that they were asking for.
There's so many papers.
Just done with me, so I was on the ball for it.
It's with every loan. Same thing with double checking the employment. That has actually slowed down a few closings where they aren't able to get a hold of the person to verify. So you wait in closing until it's done.
And that's tough. I mean, because really, there are people who go to closing and haven't alerted their HR department or their employment people to say, "Hey, you're gonna get a call confirming that I am still employed, gainfully employed from you folks." So remember to do that if that's what, in fact, you're planning on closing. Let's move on. You're going to review the closing disclosure. At one time called a HUD, now it's a CD. And you want to go over what that is, Chuck?
Well, they actually, back in October, 3rd of 2015, took away the HUDs. You don't do a HUD with a loan anymore. It's you can do them on cash deals, but you're doing an ALTA, which shows all the numbers, buyers, sellers side. You can have them broken up depending on a party's desires. But the CD is what the banks are required to get to the buyers. Of course, seller CD is also prepared. But it's kind of difficult to understand. I've never yet met anybody that would pick up a CD as the preferred way to know the numbers. So what we do is we also prepare what they call an ALTA, which again is just a spreadsheet. It looks very similar to what a HUD did. And that's what we go over. That's what we send out, and it's easily understood.
And this is supposed to be sent out 3 days prior to closing?
At least 3 days prior. But that's only on the buyer's side. I see a lot of people saying, oh, I'm a seller, I haven't got it, it's 3 days. It's like, yeah, there's no regulation related to that.
An important distinction. I've heard people be fearful, like, wait a second, where's my 3 days start? Like, oh, no, it doesn't affect me.
No, only to the buyer. The consumer, for some reason, the way the regulations are written, is only the buyer, which boggles my mind. But,
both have a financial stake. One's making a specific amount of money to pay off their loan, and
they're both consumers.
They're both equally important.
Yeah.
All right, so hopefully you've got your closing disclosure 3 days prior to. By the way, if you don't, you can't close. Am I correct on that, Mr. Crosby?
That is correct. You can't waive it. It's got to be done.
Got to be done.
What I've found a lot of banks doing is there are tolerances. If I send out and I don't send them out, if the bank sends out a CD and the numbers go down, you don't have to redisclose. So what they'll do is they'll shoot out a high side CD well in advance, sometimes a week in advance. And then if it goes down, well, great. If it goes up, then they have to redisclose.
Got it. Hopefully, before you close, you and your agent have done a walkthrough to make sure that the things that were brought to your attention by your inspection have been completed. That's hopefully where, if you're doing the right thing, you're using Home Team. Brad Lawler, what does that walkthrough look like? What should it look like for the buyer and the buyer's agent?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of points I don't do the walkthroughs with them. We've been through a few, but at the point that they're doing the walkthrough, everything that the seller agreed to repair during the negotiation should already be completed. Now, it's not uncommon for us to be asked to come in and do a reinspection prior to that final walkthrough, but at that final walkthrough, all of that should be knocked out, completed, and the seller should be able to provide the receipts for the work that was done, so you know exactly who did the work and what work was completed.
Will Home Team go back, I would suspect, for a fee if the buyer and the buyer agent want you to double check on things that they're not familiar with?
Yes, we do what are called re-inspections. We'll do, I don't know, maybe one every other week or so. They're not uncommon. When there's a lot of repairs to be made or technical repairs to be made, it's not uncommon for them to have one of our inspectors go back and double check the work that was done.
Got it. Chuck, from a legal standpoint, if something is not done, let's just say, for all intents and purposes, agent goes back in with the buyer and the refrigerator has been turned off or unplugged. And now the agent plugs it back in, but it's not enough time for the refrigerator to cool down. It would be our team's position that something be written up at closing that survives the closing, that says that if either, and we suggest not to close until you can confirm that the refrigerator is in fact working properly. But is there language as an attorney, Chuck, that you could put into play that would hold the seller responsible if the buyer finds that the refrigerator is not working a day or so after closing?
Yeah, you can always put in an addenda like that. Now, as a typical matter, from my perspective, since I'm there representing the lender, I'm the lender's attorney, the items like the stove or the refrigerator have no value and specifically have been waived as to the transaction. That's why the agents have to make sure that they keep an eye on that, because technically it doesn't mean anything to me. But I have a question for you. I've heard recently some agents arguing over whether you should do it the day before or the morning of. What's your thought?
I think it's a toss-up. And unfortunately, if you do it the day before, something could happen between the time you've seen the house and
it's the old
time you
close.
Like,
what can you stay there until 10 minutes before closing and then run over to make sure nothing's happened before then? But it does raise a good point. But I think that's where and it's very few cases you see where something could happen by the time you go close and come back, or you don't get to close, the seller goes, and maybe a buyer takes possession and never goes and shows up to closing, and then they stay in the house, and then there's things like that. There's all sorts of crazy things that can happen, and there's always the what if.
Well, I will say the best response on that from us would be to go the day before and just before closing twice. That way, the reason you go the day before is so if there is a problem, you get on the horn with the buyer, the seller and they get
well,
it.
And the main thing is, remember, we want to make sure that these repairs, that's the goal.
Yeah,
it's not to like see if something is going to break in between now and then. It's if you go in the day before and something's not done, then you have a couple of hours or maybe a night for them to get in there and fix it before closing, which would be great, rather than going morning of and being like, oh, we're not going to close.
Well, that's what I've run into, is where there's a big ticket item that needs to be done that wasn't quite done, so they need to scramble for it, and you can never do that day of.
Right. It's case by case, and I always say it goes down to value. How big of a ticket is that item? Does it warrant the stress and agony? You have movers lined up. You know, what are the things? And that's where I guess Bob was saying, is that where's that language that maybe you can protect yourself and say, okay, if we're going to go ahead and close because we have to. And if this doesn't get remedied, we have some sort of teeth to help make sure this is remedied.
Brad, you had something that you wanted to jump in with?
Well, I was just going to say, because we hear a lot about HVAC units that aren't working, so they turn thermostats off. If you do it the day before, then you can find refrigerators, that are unplugged. You plug them back in, check them again the next day. Same thing, just to make sure that the air is working. It's not that we've had a few times where people have called saying, hey, the air's not working. We just moved into the house today. Why didn't you catch that? Well, it was working fine the day we did the inspection, a month earlier. So, those things do happen.
All right, wrapping this up, after the walkthrough, then there's some necessary documentation that you need to bring to the closing table. And Chuck Crosby, it's all yours. What needs to be brought?
Well, typically, if you've sold a house and you're coming to buy a house, I'm going to want to see a copy of that closing disclosure. The seller gets a closing disclosure. Thing that has been plaguing me in the last couple of weeks is there's a lot of entities that do closings here in town that don't give a copy of the CD to the seller, or if they do, it's unsigned, and it's like, wait a minute, that's kind of important for the buyers and sellers to have signed CDs. So if you're selling a house and using money from that to buy a new house, chances are I'm going to need to see that CD. Obviously, I'm going to need a picture ID, government issued picture ID that is still valid. That whole, hey, there's 90 days for driver's licenses, et cetera, that technically is passed. Now, there's some banks that still allow it, but that time frame is passed. So if your license is expired, you need to go get it. Yeah, Greg.
I just moved. I need to go get one of the new ones anyways.
Yeah.
Are we hearing that Greg didn't bring his ID?
Oh. No, it's just no. Just
all right. So that wrap. Anything else that they need to bring? Obviously,
anything the bank says. A lot of times, what happens is I'll get somebody saying, "Oh, hey, my loan officer told me to bring this."
Yep.
And I'll usually say, "Oh, yeah, I forgot to ask for that," and I'll take it from them, even though I was never told to pick it up. If your loan officer tells you to bring something, it's a good idea to bring it.
And finally, I would suggest you bring a check, just in the event there's a small amount that is different.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, right. To pay to buy that house. There might, even though the closing disclosure says you might owe $1,000, and you bring a certified check for $1,000, it may be $1,005. So bring a check for the $5. I think Chuck and other closing attorneys take cash, but they prefer not to. Am I correct?
That would be accurate.
That's right. All right. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we got so much more to talk about. So I'm not even going to promote that. But let me also just tell you, if you want to hear about what our sellers are saying about us or see, go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. If you want to read about it, go to LouisvilleZillow.com. That's LouisvilleZillow.com. We are with our good friends Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Office at 499-6360. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service at 844-411-TEAM. My son, Greg, who does our photography and marketing and so much more. And, of course, you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime at 376-5483. Back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS.
Hey, quick thing. Yeah. Chuck, can you snap your mic with that little cord holder there just to get your mic off your collar? You're scraping.
It's rubbing. Yeah, it's rubbing.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't hear it.
That might snap. That might.
Oh, it looks cute. Let's see how it sounds. Yeah.
You can slide that down a little bit.
Yeah, slide it down because it looks like you got a little cowboy hat on.
There you go.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I hadn't used it before.
But, okay, but we'll see what that goes. Okay, yeah, good call. All right, here we go. News Radio 840 WHAS. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank fame. We really do adore Barbara. She's great help to us and a mentor, and we thank her. Here with us on the Louisville Real Estate Show for the next 10 minutes or so, we've got Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Services at 844-411-TEAM. And then my son Greg, who does our marketing and photography and so much more. And you can, of course, reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime. We need homes to list and sell because we're selling them on all the ones we get, 376-5483. And if you're thinking you want to sell your home for top dollar and fast, send me an email. We've got it's a booklet that's online. Send it right to you with more than 150 steps on how to get more money for your home. Send me to Bob at WeSellLouisville.com and put the subject "Selling My Home" in the subject line. All right. So a couple of things. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Is it time to move into a single-story home? One of the things that a lot of people are thinking about, especially if you're a baby boomer. So what are the benefits of buying a one-story home? Well, energy efficiency goes in addition to the fact that you don't have to typically climb stairs. Right? Don't we all agree as we get older, we're not so happy about, well, Greg doesn't want that.
No, yes, I fought with this. I'm like, do you do it? And I'm like, I want to climb stairs. I got a friend whose dad's, he's a former Holocaust survivor. He's like 86.
Yep, I know him.
He lives they still climb upstairs. Now they're getting ready to downsize.
Right, yeah.
But
also,
as long as you can climb those stairs.
So single-family homes are also easier to maintain. Doing general cleaning, single story requires less effort. Let's face it, with all the leaves coming down these days, if you got a two-story home and you got gutters on the top floor, Brad, the last thing even that your people climb ladders, you don't want to be climbing a ladder to clean gutters, right?
No. I've got friends that'll clean the gutters for you. Please get gutter guards and.
Yeah, so that's half the reason I stole Bob's ladder and I haven't given it back to him.
Yes,
I don't want him on his.
Well, thanks. That's
right.
Okay. It's difficult to find a 20-foot ladder. It took me a while.
I've got a 30-foot for you, Chuck. So
excellent.
So something else that is important, I think, is good resale value. As more baby boomers get to the point where they don't want to climb stairs, and then the generations behind us baby boomers, a single-story house could have a higher resale value when it comes time to selling. If you look at the growth rate of people in our area, due to the high demand of these types of houses, it's easier to resell them. And depending upon the growth rate of the area, it increases in value significantly. So those are some things that are happening, even now during COVID times, to think about. One of the things I sent out earlier, there was a report that came out I sent to Brad to look at. I thought this was rather interesting. Stucco has actually become the most popular exterior choice for new homes in parts of the country.
Yeah. And it really, I think we probably ought to call it synthetic stucco or
EIFS material.
Well,
EIFS.
The same? Yeah, that's what they're talking about. EIFS. We would know it as stucco or drive it around here. A lot of homes are being built with at least portions of the house that are trimmed out. And that stucco or the EIFS, a lot of manufactured stone veneer, that stone look applied similar methods, but if not done correctly, can do a significant amount of damage. One of my inspectors is one of the only certified EIFS and MSV inspectors in the entire region. So we do a lot of those type of inspections, which actually require us to drill into the product to make sure that there's no moisture back in behind it. But a lot of issues if not installed correctly.
And I would tell you that here in the Louisville area, stucco is at a minimum in terms of building materials. Before moving here in 1994, I was a reporter and anchor in Atlanta, and we owned a stucco home. No problems, but more prevalent in the Atlanta and some southern states, including
Florida. It's everywhere. Florida.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But not so much here. Can you guys guess what the second most common cover to a home is, besides stucco being number one throughout the country? Anyone take a guess?
Vinyl, just for the sheer
vinyl is it?
Vinyl,
very good.
Vinyl. Yeah,
it's the second most common option at 25%, followed by fiber cement siding, which is also known as hardy plank or hardy board, right?
We got you.
That's at 21%, and only about 5% of new homes last year used wood or wood products. and 1% were clad in stone, rock, or other stone materials. I find that the survey a little disturbing because so many homes here in our area use brick, and that didn't seem to come up. And that, as you know, here in Louisville,
that cement hardy board though is being used quite a lot
currently.
I know
that. I know. But for a lot of areas, you go through the Highlands, St. Matthews, you got brick everywhere, right?
Yeah. Brick veneer is very, very common here.
If a lot of us who are staying in homes are longer and don't want to move because we can't find another house, are possibly saying, okay, time to remodel your house, right? Mm-hmm. So there are some mistakes that you can make. I would tell you one that you won't make, because Chuck just did it, Chuck Crosby, is expanding your deck. That's a good move. You did it. You know, Lee Harris also expanded her deck over at Limestone. Really? The two of you.
Well, hey, she had to copy me.
Yeah, that's true. But some things not to do, according to this report, and this comes from a reputable place. And if I see the name of it, I'll give you the name where it came from. But no, it actually comes from Bob Vila's group. Home buyers either love swimming pools or hate them, which means if you have an in-ground pool, you should expect a fair number of potential buyers, and your price range will immediately cross your home off their list. That said, I was always, up until this year, said that 10% of people who are looking for homes are looking for homes with pools. And if you have one, they'll beat a path to your door. But this year, that changed because of COVID. More people are staying home, and more people want a pool. And if you talk to what pool companies, what are they saying, Fred? You know, the back up on getting a pool installed these days?
It's almost a year. I think they're well into next summer.
I heard even longer
installs. Yeah, could be now. Yeah.
So I'm not so sure about it, in-ground pool being a bad thing, but just consider what the options are.
Maintenance.
Yeah, contrasting styles. If you live in a colonial style home, for example, putting a stucco addition on, not so good. You want to stay with, and there's some communities that have building restrictions that would prevent you from putting stucco with the brick, let's say, if you have a colonial style. So be careful about that. Using substandard materials, you may opt, like when Chuck went to build his enormous deck that he put on the house. What material did you use as the flooring? Was it man-made? Was it, do you remember what you used?
Yeah, it's just regular treated lumber for the floor, but on the top of the rails, we did the, what do they call that, Trex or something like that? Yeah.
Good. The last thing you want to do is use materials that could disintegrate or not wear properly, like untreated wood, which I've seen done on decks, and it's terrible. You got a big problem. Something else to think about is not going with trendy fans. You may be into retro decor, but a living room with deep orange wall-to-wall shag carpeting, that's just not going to fly in today's market. I know you may like it, but you should also always consider selling the home down the road in case you have to. So when you make improvements, do them with an eye or a thought about possibly reselling the house. That also goes for substandard workmanship because it's going to be seen by inspectors like Home Team. Also, code infractions. You need to make sure, and this happens all the time. Let's say you got a buddy who does electrical work, you're going to finish out your basement, and you don't pull a permit to have it finished. Now, Home Team or any inspection company comes in, they notice there's no sticker. What happens then at that point, Brad?
Well, we're not really looking for the sticker, but we identify a lot of safety defects that are done by handymen. And then, of course, that naturally leads to the question about, were their permits pulled? Now, in Jefferson County, you can have access to the permits through the database. Now, other surrounding counties, it's not as easy to find, if you can find them at all. But in Jefferson County, anyway, it's simple to find out whether or not a permit was pulled for the work that was done, because we see a lot of handyman and homeowner type of renovation work that's not good. But we're really looking for safety defects. We're not looking for the code stickers, because in Kentucky and in Indiana, both home inspectors can't even quote code. Right. But just to know, those code stickers are they stay fresh for about, as long as a loaf of bread. As soon as the guy's walking out the door after the inspection, it's pretty much, not worth anything any longer.
Couple other quick things as we wrap up on this. Garage conversions. If you're going to need more living space, there are people who actually convert their garage into a rec room or studio. Be careful how you do it. Yep, my sister did it. Poor energy efficiency. Make sure you've got energy efficient windows if you're going to be doing any upgrades. That's important when you come to resell. Skimpy storage. If you don't have a lot of storage in your home, that could be a problem when it comes time to resell. And then poor room access. The last thing you want to do is walk through a room to go to another room, because there are codes that prevent you from calling the second room an actual bedroom if you have.
Hey, don't hate on Germantown and Smoketown. That's like half of the houses down there.
But if the number of homes in a given area, then it will become, you can count it, is what it comes down to.
And one other thing, just be very careful if you try to finish a room over a garage, because you've got some fire rating issues that take place. So you really have to work with a contractor that knows how to essentially put in the proper fire barriers between your garage and the room that would go above it if it wasn't originally designed and built that way.
Not to mention the walls, and if you're putting a bathroom in, that's an outside wall, correct? That becomes a problem with cooling.
We had major issues on my last home with the builder, and it was a brand new build, and our builder had to come back multiple times. Now, I'm sure, it was to code, the fire rating was there, but there was still insulation issues within that exterior wall where there was plumbing pipes going up that continuously were freezing. We had to get extra insulation blown in, all that stuff. And that was after the fact. So
yes,
should have been,
There's a lot to go into it if you're thinking about making changes because you're living in there longer. If there are questions, we're always here to help you. Don't hesitate. In fact, Chuck, did you get a call this morning from
I did.
And she wanted to know about what? Because in the last seconds here, you need to bring this up.
Some commercials that you hear on the radio. I don't know that we want to give particular names.
No, we don't want to give promotion, but they were offering insurance against title fraud?
Against somebody taking your house. I have opinions on that issue.
What would you warn all of our listeners, as you did with this lady who called?
Am I allowed to talk about products like that on the radio?
No, but just in general, if it sounds too good to be true, if they're trying to scare you, what would you do?
If you're trying to be scared, give me a call. Or if you are scared, give me a call. It just reminds me of that other insurance commercial where the guy's standing there, there's a robbery going on, and everybody goes, "Hey, aren't you going to stop the robbery?" And he says, "Oh, no, I'm just here to warn you that there's a robbery going on."
Yeah, okay, we don't want to do that. But this woman there was a question about a commercial, which I found fishy about the commercial itself. I sent her to Chuck.
Everybody asks that question at closing anymore. So, if you have questions about any commercials you hear on the radio relating to title, give me a call. It may not be, let's just say they might be exaggerating the issue.
Got it. Chuck Crosby is the guy to call at Crosby Law Offices, 499-6360. My good thanks to him, also to Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, 844-411-TEAM. My son, Greg, who does our marketing and photography and so much more. And if by chance you want to see a replay of this show, the video portion of it, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. And if you want to reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime, 376-5483. Gang, we're out of time. We will see you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS. Sorry about that last bringing up of that Chuck thing. I just felt we should
put him on the spot every time.
No, I can't go and say, home title lock is a fraud.
Are you?
Because it's not a fraud. It's just kind of
suckers.
Yeah.
Are you telling us that America's mayor is being
America's mayor
is being misleading?
Is that Rudy Giuliani? Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
He's the one who does it.
Is his mouth moving?
It's on the radio. I can't tell.
Wait, should you want me to cut that out? Because I can on the commercial on the on-air part. Do you want me to leave that out?
I don't care. I just don't want to be in a position where I'm going to be getting phone calls from some company's lawyers for saying their product is a fraud.
Well, you didn't. We didn't mention the product name. So
you did now, and this is recorded. And it's
okay. Let's go into YouTube.
We'll take off that little red whatever.
Hey, funny story about the.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's not a fraud. It's just not what they're purporting it to be.
I'll tell you. I mean, so I was at that listing. One of Bob's listing is she listens to our radio show, and that's one of the things she heard us through, and she realized because they don't always know that I'm Bob's son when the way we schedule things, And so she's like, "Oh, you're Bob's son." She's like, "Yeah, I heard you on the radio show." And we started like, she's a very lovely older woman, just talking to me about everything. And she was like, "Oh, you do that for the company?" She's like, "Oh, you do so much more." And I was like, "Oh, yeah."
There's your got to pay
my validation. It was great.
Oh, that's funny. That's a great story. We should have told that one on the radio.
I was trying to,
That's great. All right.
That was a full show.
That was. We had a lot going. All right, gang. Thank you so much. I will see you all next week. And I sent you some stuff for next week to be prepared a little bit more. Thanks again.
All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.